Should Winda be banned? Today we're going to talk about the current TCG situation with El Shaddoll Winda and reach a conclusion in regard to which, if any, cards should be hit on the Forbidden and Limited list to stop the prevalence of this powerhouse of a card. There are two factors that go into how good a so-called boss monster is. One, how inherently powerful is it? And two, how easy is it to summon? Let us first talk about how inherently powerful Winda is. Winda is a 2200 attack point monster, meaning that it's hard to kill in battle. It can also not die by the opponent's card effects. It has a floodgate-like ability that completely shuts off most combo and mid-range decks by limiting them to one special summon per turn. This makes the card very inherently powerful against combo and mid-range decks, but less so against more control-oriented or trap decks. Over the course of a tournament, a person relying on summoning Winda is going to have a very polarized experience. A lot of wins against combo, but a lot of losses against control or trap decks. This lack of generality in Winda, while still being a really strong card, makes the card less busted in the context of a larger tournament in a more open format. Now let's review how easy it is to summon. There are two main ways of summoning Winda. One is Nadir Servant, and two is fusion materials plus a fusion spell. Before Nadir Servant, you actually had to commit to play a lot of Shaddolls to be able to make Winda consistently. What used to be a 3-card combo, i.e. the 2 materials plus the fusion spell, that forced you to play suboptimal cards that don't do anything by themselves is now replaced by a minimum +2 spell card, Nadir Servant, that can set up Winda as a 1-card combo. This frees up a lot of deck space for Shaddoll, allowing them more space to combat the matchups that Winda doesn't cover, or winning more when forced to go second, pushing the deck to the top of competitive play. It also means that the likelihood of having set up for making 2 Windas is a lot higher, as any hand in Shaddoll that made 1 Winda before now makes 2 if Nadir Servant is one of the other cards in hand. Cards having outs not equal to cards being fair. Before continuing on, I want to address the idea of cards having outs not being the same as cards being fair. While this statement is true, it is often misconstrued by ignoring both the resources committed to a play and the generality of the outs to set, play, or card. Winda has outs in the form of Dark Ruler No More, Forbidden Droplet, even Book of Moon, all cards you could realistically play. Winda also forces the player making it to actually commit resources to it, as opposed to something like Max C. Max C has generic outs too, that could be played, but the player using Max C commits very little by doing so. This also used to be the case with Winda before Nadir Servant. You had to commit material and lose tempo in terms of waiting a turn to recover the resources that went into making it. Now one card, Nadir Servant, becomes an interruption, so it self-replaces and makes Winda, so you don't really lose anything by committing to it. Furthermore, the deck building requirements for people trying to counterplay Winda are a lot higher if 2 Windas have to be outed as opposed to 1, which Winda being at 3 and Nadir Servant being legal enables to a large extent. The Mystic Mine / full engine arguments. The reason Mystic Mine is still unbanned seems to be a wish for a general change in the metagame. For a long time, most people have played 37 plus engine card decks with no regard for counterplay to cards in the format. Winda is in many ways similar to Mystic Mine. It forces combo and mid-range players to have to play cards that don't boost their own consistency and allow them to play through regular interruption at 1000 miles per hour. If you are a combo player and you don't want to lose to Winda, you have to play Dark Ruler No More, Droplet, Book of Moon, etc., but then also have to accept more bricking or less card advantage in the broader scope of your games. While I personally would prefer a general downturn of the power level of the game and then let people not have to lose to things that force them to play counter cards too, I do see the necessity in these cards to some extent if the power level of the game is not toned down. Nadir Servant. While Shaddoll Schism and El Shaddoll Winda are both incredibly powerful cards, I think the metagame shift caused by Winda being in the format is overall healthy, forcing combo players to run more counter cards as opposed to engine cards. With that said, I don't think it's reasonable to expect people to be able to out 2 Windas on the same turn. There are two good solutions to this. One, limit El Shaddoll Winda. A reasonable option. You can't make 2 Winda if you can't play 2 Winda. Or 2, ban Nadir Servant. In my opinion, better option. Nadir Servant is the enabler of double Winda setup in most hands and is an incredibly powerful spell card in many other decks. The power of this card, even when not making Winda, is still absolutely ridiculous. It really is 2020's Engage.